Good
He's
evening.
nowhere frozen.
He's freezing on and off. We may have to wait for Mark Ryan. Yeah, we're gonna have to wait for Mark Ryan to end up in a better location. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first ever edition of ESPN Off Topic. We decided after Diesel and Mark Ryan turned these UFO sightings into a topic on the show, and it got a ton of attention. It forced Lonzo and I to talk about it on our show, where it got a ton of attention. So we decided,
You're welcome for us providing you content.
Yes,
it's usually the other way around.
Exactly. So we decided to do something that is not hashtag stick to sports and have a little fun on the show this evening. I am Rob Brown. He's Lonzo. He's Diesel, as you can see by the name tags there on the sideline. Let's have a little fun. Let's see if we can. Let's see. We're gonna test this. Yes, Mark Ryan in the wind tunnel is going to try to join us here on the show as well.
Mark, can you pull up next to a Starbucks? Get some Wi-Fi.
Yeah, this is not going great. So we're gonna tell Mark Ryan that he needs to join us when he gets back to the house, because these settings are just not working for us. All right. So
I think he should just put him up there, and now Diesel's gone. Just put him up there.
Oh, and now Diesel's gone. I kicked Diesel instead of Mark. Oh well, we'll get Diesel back in just a second and see if we can figure this whole thing out. This is going exceptionally well for the first time that we've tried this, boys. Going exceptionally well here on ESPN Upstate Off Topic. So we'll start with this while we wait for Diesel to jump back in. Mark, I want to ask you, and we'll see if we can get his connection to work long enough to make this happen. You guys started having the conversation about the increased number of UFO sightings on your show a couple of weeks ago, and it absolutely took off. What made it so compelling and mandatory for you to bring that up as a discussion on the show?
Well, first things first, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, good.
We're past the testing phase already.
So Rob, because I'm 43 going on 74, I happen to watch 60 Minutes from time to time. Okay, 60 Minutes had on
for all the hot octogenarians,
right? 60 Minutes had this whole special on this weekend, and it was like, man, if 60 Minutes is willing to talk about aliens, like that's about the most legit alien show you could ever watch, right?
You sure they didn't mean aliens as in illegal immigrants? Because that seems more up 60 Minutes alley.
Those are more friendly aliens, Diesel. More friendly aliens, right?
Yeah. They help those aliens across the border. Anyway.
Yeah, they do.
One of them probes you. One of them gives you a taco.
They said, look, guys, all of these increased sightings, they're one of three things. They are secret U.S. missions, which 60 Minutes then debunked because they spoke to secret U.S. intelligence groups. Those weren't ours. The only other two things they could be are enemy spy planes that have technology that we've never seen before or don't know anything about, or extraterrestrial. Those are literally the only two options they could be. I guess you could throw out a third one, optical illusion, right? But there's just so many of them, and now we have them on footage, and it's just kind of like, what the hell is going on? So when 60 Minutes, man, it was even in the viral little section on Twitter for Twitter trending topics, and I just said, man, we're going to bring this up. We're going to chat about this, and just like it was on your show, man, people want to talk about it. It's great.
Diesel, when this became a topic on the show for you guys and you started talking about this, did you expect that we were going to get the feedback that we got on both of our shows? Like this was going to become one of the most responded to topics that either of our shows have had in months?
Well, I expect anytime we have a topic that brings up backdoor probes to have the audience just flock to it. And of course, you know what? They never disappoint. So, yeah, everybody seems to think that they saw something, whether they did it or whether whether they didn't, whether they were sober or on massive amounts of meth. Everybody thinks they've seen something, and you know what? Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong.
Lonzo and I had not too long ago. Lonzo and I had a caller to the show that checked in and said and claimed that they had seen a UFO over in Edisto Beach, which is a few miles north. Look at that screen cap of Mark Ryan. Look at that screen cap of. I was gonna kick him, but I think we just leave that screen cap up, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't believe ET is real, we're looking at him right here.
I was gonna say, one of these people is presently drunk. Guess which one?
Screen cap that, and let's make it the logo on Mark Ryan's Twitter for a couple of weeks. So we had a guy and a young lady, his wife, call our show on what day did we talk about it? Tuesday, and tell us that they were in Edisto Beach, just south of Charleston, a couple of weeks ago, and I guess they had seen something that they believed to be extraterrestrial, and they described it. They described it as being almost shaped like a plane, but with like four lights out of the back that were like exhaust lights, but that it was maneuvering in ways that no jet fighter could. And this is where Rob Brown gets to be Debbie Downer. So I'll throw this out there, and then I want you guys to completely come after me for crapping on the parade. My thought was, just because you haven't seen it doesn't disqualify it from being man-made, right? Like back a number of years ago, there were sightings of a weird triangle-shaped craft over the Gulf of Mexico that people were calling in, and it was a big deal. And Gulf Breeze, which is right by Pensacola, where I'm from, is one of the highest sight areas of UFOs in the area. And almost every time, it turns out to be some sort of aircraft that makes its public debut down the road. The big triangle-shaped one was the B-117 stealth bomber. You all know the very famous triangle-shaped stealth bomber. That's what it was. Do me a favor, Zoe, you go first, because I know this one is kind of up your alley. Why should ET be a more than reasonable thought that I have to describe these things?
Wait a minute, Rob. I thought the COVID-19 test was the thing that was up Lonzo's alley.
That doctor made one of the greatest promos in ESPN Upstate history, Lonzo. I'm sorry, but he did.
Yeah, and this just goes to show you that that I'm a good sport, and I made a promo out of it, even though I was a joke. I don't even remember the question now. What was the question?
So to me, my immediate thought as, what did you call me? A haughty academic elitist intellectual. Thank you very much. One of the greatest compliments of my life.
First time you've ever been called academic or intellectual.
True story, and I haven't recorded. It's real. So my first thought is, because we can't identify it as man-made, doesn't mean that that's not the most probable explanation for this. And the government says it wasn't ours. Definitely does not, to me, disqualifying it from being theirs. So Zoe, I know that you told me you think 85% that these are of extraterrestrial origin. What leads you to that belief?
All right, a couple of things. First of all, I as a believer in God, and I've had these conversations with fellow Christians who are like, the Bible says that God created man in his own image, but it doesn't say that he didn't create other things too. And I believe that there's life on other planets, and they're going to come here eventually. And as far as the government goes, some of that could be true. Some of it could be experimental things. Of course, they're not going to tell anybody. But and so you can't believe them anyway. But we talked about this before. If you knew aliens were coming, and you knew without a doubt they were coming, and as a government, you're aware of this, you're not just going to come out and have the president, have address the nation and the world and say, by the way, aliens exist and they're visiting Tuesday. You're not going to do that. What you're going to do is you're going to slowly start leaking video and photos that will make people see this, and eventually you will start to saturate the media with more and more of this stuff. So people will start to believe that maybe it could be true. So when it does happen, you won't have mass panic. You will have people going, okay, we've been seeing that this is a possibility. This is coming for a while, and now here they are. What do we do? And so I just think that it could be that. It could be that they're slowly letting these things out so people can get used to seeing them. And the people who disbelieve are going to continue to disbelieve. And the people who kind of believe are going to believe a little bit more. And eventually UFOs or UAPs, I believe is what they're called now, become commonplace to the point where there won't be mass panic when they actually show up in the sky.
So Lonzo says, yeah, go ahead, Diesel.
What you've just described is the exact to the movie Paul. Movie Paul came out probably about 15 years ago. It is about that exact thing. It is about the alien who crash landed in the desert in the 1950s, who has essentially been captive, but also been amenable and available to the U.S. government. The government has been trickle feeding images of this alien to us for years. Now, it's a comedy, of course. It stars Kristen Wiig, Sigourney Weaver. It stars Seth Rogen as the voice of the foul-mouthed alien. It's got Jason Bateman in it. It's just got a massive, great comedy cast. But it is about that exact thing. And once the U.S. government has ran out of its usefulness of this alien Paul and that last bit of technology that Paul will not give them, they decide they're going to kill him. And he has to go on the run. So that is the exact plot to that movie. So maybe aliens gave us the plot to that movie to be able to feed that to people, so that when it happens, they'd be like, I've seen this before.
Mark Ryan, is there a possibility that the reason we've seen an increased amount of phenomenon is because the government is trying to prepare us slowly so that when the Independence Day ships show up in the sky, there's not full-on panic?
Rob, I got to tell you, based on some insight I'm going to share with you, that I think is pretty awesome. You may be guilty of the most arrogant of American beliefs. Okay, and that's not coming from me. That is coming from a NASA astronaut. Lonzo met her. Diesel met her. My ex-girlfriend does psychological supports for NASA astronauts. I kid you not, Rob. She goes grocery shopping and she sends up food to them in the NASA space station up in space. She also coordinates like Jimmy Fallon talking to them and all this other stuff, right? So anyway, I've gotten to hang out with the astronauts, believe it or not, and it's the coolest thing in the world. Of course, what are you going to ask a NASA astronaut? You're going to ask them about aliens. And I said, I've got to ask you, I've been wondering this my whole life. What do you guys believe? What have you seen? What do you believe? What do you believe? And here is what a NASA astronaut that has all of 250,000 Twitter followers, here's what he told me directly, Rob. He said, it is the most arrogant of American belief for people to say we're the only ones out there. When you get up to the space station and you see what we see, you realize that the impossibility is not that there's other life. The impossibility is that there isn't. You know what I mean? So he says Earth is a speck. You're looking at hundreds of thousands of other specks. And he says, what are when you're up there, it really hits home to you that there is just no way that we're the only life out there. Now, when you juxtapose that against all these new ships that we're seeing, Rob, my friend, it's only a matter of time. It is only a matter of time.
So let me jump in and throw this out there. I do not for a second believe that there's life elsewhere in the cosmos, right? I hope all of us have seen the picture when they spun Voyager around on its way towards the outer skirts of the solar system. And I'm a huge space dork, so I love this stuff. We are less than a speck of dust in the cosmos. We can only see so far in any direction because light has only had the 14 to 16 billion years that is the age of the universe to reach us. There's stuff past where we are capable of seeing, and who knows what's out there. There are hundreds of billions of planets throughout the cosmos, and it takes the right combination of the right chemicals at the right time to produce what we know is life, and that's only limited to life as we know it. That's not to say there's not a type of life out there that is completely unrecognizable to what we are. And when you factor in that
on the internet and into comment threads, and there is a certain type of life that subsists exclusively on Cheetos and Mountain Dew Code Red. So it doesn't have to be life as we know it. There's other kinds of life.
Yeah. So I don't for a second think there's not life out there elsewhere, but I also know that we as humans, Homo sapiens, the species we are today, has had roughly, let's say, a quarter to a half a billion years to evolve as we are. Let's say 250,000 years-ish, ballpark. And we've only been able to keep our own records for the better part of a few thousand years now, right? 8,000, 9,000 years that we've been able to find written records of our species. The amount of technology it would take to be able to not just travel space, but considering the distance from us, it's what is it? Some 14 light years to the next closest star, which means it takes light 14 years, which means it would take us like generations upon generations at our fastest rate of travel to get to the nearest star. So there has to be life elsewhere. It has to evolve, and it has to evolve to either a type 2 and probably a type 1 civilization to have the technology to be able to travel around the cosmos in a way that it would be able to, A, find us, right? Because space is a huge empty place, and B, come to a place where we would be able to identify it. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying that I prefer to go where evidence leads. And time upon time, things that have been identified or have been labeled as unidentified flying objects have turned out to be weather balloons or prototype jets or prototype missiles that are being tested by the military that they have not revealed to us. I don't see any reason to think what we are seeing right now is any different. I'm not saying there's no life elsewhere. I'm saying the odds that they found us aren't great, and the likelihood, evidence-wise, and what we've seen in past history points to these things are something man-made, and the folks in charge just don't want to tell us because they like to keep tech under wraps for their use as warfighting machines, as opposed to whatever they would do to benefit us in the public world. That leads me to believe that these things are man-made.
Hey, Rob, I'm curious. Have you ever thought of changing your career to be the press secretary?
I actually did work in government as a press secretary for about a year and a half, and it was the single worst job I've ever had. So imagine
I'm sure you were really good at it, though.
Imagine me being me, but more stuffed up. That was that job. That was that job.
Rob, your assertion assumes that they haven't already found us. Do you really believe that there's been no legitimate encounters here? I think, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, if you guys got to watch, like, it's like 15 minutes on YouTube when we get off this call, 15 minutes, 60 minutes on Sunday, like put in 60 minutes UFOs or 60 minutes UAPs. It's 15 minutes, man. Rob, there were 4 naval officers, 4 different planes that saw a spinning tic-tac-toe board that followed no laws of our physics engine that we have, okay? It had no way to fly, and they're watching this thing spinning over water, and it's mirroring their movements. These are 4 different naval officers. What kind of technology is that, man? I have no idea what that is. So, I'm of the belief that the government knows something. I'm of the belief that that they know something about encounters that have already taken place. And I firmly believe that there is some knowledge about different beings having already been here.
So again, to me, it's not an impossibility. And Diesel, I want your thoughts here too. It's not an impossibility, but I tend, because I am a haughty elitist academic intellectual, I tend to go where evidence follows, and I tend to go where there is some sort of proof. And I don't discount, this is not me discounting the story of these naval aviators. I believe they saw what they saw. But to say there had been encounters, to me, and I say this, and this is where I'll start to rile some people up. To say that there have been encounters is the same way when someone says to me, I saw a demon, right? Cool, but do you have evidence? Like, I believe you experienced this, but we know that people who get carbon monoxide poisoning have hallucinations. We know people that have electrolyte imbalances have hallucinations. These are also natural and realistic explanations. I'm not doubting what they experienced. I am saying that there is not evidence to point in that direction. Diesel and then Zoe, thoughts on that?
Well, you just said that we have such a very brief, very short history and collection of history, and therefore scientific discoveries, scientific ability to look out very far into the cosmos. So you're by definition saying that we don't really have the ability to know or to find out if there is life out there. Now, sure, the human mind is an extremely powerful thing and has the ability to show us kind of what we want to see or what we think we should see. And also, when you're flying in a jet at a high rate of speed, you can have light bounce off of the plexiglass hood of your airplane and show you something that you think is there but is not actually there. Um, so I mean, you could all of these conversations, you could apply the logic that you have to support to the logic that you have to disprove. I mean, of course, it's extremely arrogant to say that we are the only intelligent life in the cosmos. Thank you, Keegan, for dunking on Rob for saying only space. Saying the word cosmos instead of space. I was trying to type back to you, but I don't think I can do that. But also, it's extremely arrogant that out of all of the planets and possible life sources and rocks in this universe that have life, why would they come here? Look at us. We are stupid and uncivilized and warlike. If anybody's watching from a distance, they're like, I don't want to go down there. I don't want to go there. Look at them. They're arguing about Demi Lovato on the radio today. We're just gonna, catch light speed and go to the next planet where they're a little smarter.
Zoe, you were shaking your head feverishly. All you?
Well, first of all, faith is the evidence of things unseen. I believe because I believe in some things, and I don't need to have physical evidence. And I am changing your name to Thomas, and I will from now on call you Thomas, Doubting Thomas. And I knew you were scientific-y, and I know it's not a word, but I don't care. And now we know even more how scientifically minded you are. And I also believe in demons, and I believe in ghosts. So, and you know what? Haven't seen any of them. I still believe in them. That doesn't make me right. It doesn't make me wrong. I think there are things that cannot be explained, and there always will be things that cannot be explained. And then there are minds, and I'm not trying to come at you, but there are some minds, because I'm not so sure you're this way. There are some minds that if it can't be explained, they can't believe it, even in the face of seeing it. And I don't think you're closed-minded in that sense, but I know that there are some people that are that way. And again, you can come at me, ridicule me, not saying you will do that, but who knows what the texters will do about what I believe. It's not going to change what I believe. And I can't fathom the idea of needing an explanation for everything, because I just don't. And maybe I'm simple, but that's fine. I don't need an explanation for everything. Sometimes you just believe.
So to me, there is a difference in like for instance, if you I have a shirt, New Orleans Saints shirt that says faith across the front and the T is a fleur de lis, right? And I wear it at the start of every, all right, faith, we're gonna win the Super Bowl. That's hope, right? I hope that happens. It's not faith. Faith requires, you said, faith leads to a belief that does not, and I don't say this to be snarky, but does not always have evidence behind it, right? Faith, as you said, is belief in things not seen. Faith is belief in something you don't have evidence for. I, in my life, philosophically, like to believe in things that I have evidence for, and which is why I said to Mark, I believe these guys flying these jets saw what they saw. I believe these guys saw what they believe that they saw. What I don't believe,
or do you believe that they believe, but you don't? You just don't believe that they saw what they saw.
No, I
believe they believe.
I believe that they saw something. And I believe that what they saw, what they described they saw, is a valid description of what they saw. But it does not mean that I believe that was extraterrestrial origin. Diesel just pointed out, you can be driving down the road and light hits your windshield a certain way, and all of a sudden there's a little floating yellow light up in the top hand corner that catches your eye, and it doesn't belong there. That's an explanation for something. That is a natural, reasonable explanation, which is why, Mark, I believe these guys saw something, and I believe their description of what they saw was accurate. But to me, it's more likely that it was an optical illusion of light reflecting off of water. It was an instrumentation panel reflecting in their cockpit. They didn't know that there are multiple natural, rational conclusions that I would go to before, oh, it must have been an alien, Mark Ryan.
Well, Rob, you can't really say it could be an optical illusion if you didn't see what they saw. You know, I mean, they saw this perfectly and clearly. I would also say that I am virtually 100% certain that there are beings in another cosmos, right? That in another universe that dwarf our intelligence. Okay, and I think it is a virtual certainty that we've already had those encounters here. And Rob, unfortunately, you know, I think the government wants to do everything they can to prevent you from ever having the evidence. But I believe they have the evidence. You know what I'm saying? I believe they have the evidence. I believe they know a lot more than they're letting on. And, you know, some of the videos that have already been leaked, you know, those are not optical illusions that you're seeing. There are no planes that look like that. It's always possible one of our adversaries could be testing something, and that's the only other plausible issue here. But, you know, 60 Minutes, you know, spoke to our secret intelligence committees. Our naval officers, you know, spoke to secret U.S. intelligence, and they're not ours. So, you know, like it's just a, you know, it's amazing to be agreeing with Lonzo so much on this, but no, I completely do. Like I think it's, you know, I think the impossibility is that it hasn't happened. The impossibility is that it doesn't exist. You know, the evidence, Rob, is all around you. We're here. Us being here is evidence that there's got to be millions of other planets with life probably a hell of a lot smarter than we are.
Well, if there's evidence, why is there never any widely acceptable, provable evidence of anything? You know, when we can talk about extraterrestrials, we can talk about ghosts. What about that dude on that TV show who wore t-shirts 3 sizes too small? And we talk trash to the ghost. They go to a house where like everybody who goes there sees a ghost, except for this guy, when they have all the equipment available to show them that there are ghosts there. And like he'll talk trash to them, he'll taunt them, and of course you never see a ghost. You never have anything. So, you know, if all the conditions are conceivably right to gather evidence and we still can't do it, either we don't have the technology for it or what's there isn't real.
Yeah, and I guess that's where I come down on it, right? Like Keegan just said in the comments a second ago, Rob never had a magician at his birthday party, and it shows, right? So here's the thing. I love magicians. I love magic, and I love illusionists. And the reason why is I know what they're doing is not supernatural, and they're not teleporting stuff and making stuff disappearing. They are doing something natural and physical and very clever to hide something. And as somebody who enjoys magicians, I love trying to figure out what they did, right? Penn and Teller's, what's it called? Fool Us is a great show because you kind of get to learn how these things work. And yes, it looks like magic on its surface, to the point that there are some people that may go, obviously it was magic, right? It was supernatural magic. But you know that it's not. We know that there is a rational, reasonable, natural, logical explanation for what they did. The fun is in trying to figure it out. And I'm with Diesel, right? There have been tests where people have seen ghosts, and then they go in and they find that there is a high level of carbon monoxide, which can cause hallucinations in people. There is an experiment where they play super low, below the threshold of human hearing. They play these super low sounds that your brain will not directly recognize, but your eardrums will still pick up the low range frequency as these sounds. And people describe having a feeling of foreboding and terror and being watched, and it's caused by sound that we don't recognize. I lean towards these natural explanations, and that's not to say that there are not extraterrestrials out there, and that's not even to say that they haven't visited us, but I'm saying, to me, it makes sense to try to tick the boxes of things that are empirically testable, provable, showable. Show me data, show me hard evidence, and a grainy black and white cam of a triangle light in the sky, to me, doesn't cut it as evidence, Lonzo.
I just want to say that Rob is Egon from the Ghostbusters. When you were a kid, did you try to straighten your slinky?
Oh, that was a perfect time for Zoda to lose a connection.
I sounded a lot more perverted when I heard it in my head.
Yeah, Rob, did you try to straighten your slinky? Is a great phrase.
I was on it a lot, never straightened out.
Yeah. All right, we'll hang on until we get Lonzo back here in a second. But Egon from the Ghostbusters is a great example. But see, the difference in the Ghostbusters, a fictional movie, by the way, is that the ghosts were visible and they saw them and they interacted with them and they got them on film. And Slimer and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man were there and they were interacting and they were empirically provable, right? You can show that these things were there. And it was easy to do so because, well, they were just there. That is it. That's what I'm talking about when I say prove it to me. I'm not just going to take, oh, hey, it's pretty likely as a reason for anything, whether it's ghosts or demons or aliens. And while I agree there's a bunch of weird stuff going on right now, Mark Ryan, weird stuff to me doesn't convert to, here's this drastic situation that has never been seen, shown, or proven before, and that's clearly the best option for what this is.
So, it's all about our own perspective, our own experiences, right? Here on Earth, we've had a very limited set of experiences, Rob. I just believe, when a NASA astronaut tells me what he shared with me, that, when you get up there and you see what we see, you realize the impossibility is not that there is other life. The possibility is that there isn't.
Like, yeah, but what you just said isn't. He's not projecting evidence of anything. He is projecting his belief.
He's not showing any evidence, but what he is doing is speaking on his perspective, and we are in this conversation speaking about our perspectives, never having seen what they've seen. So I think when you get up there and you see something that you've never seen before, it has a way of shocking what you perceive to be true your entire life. It's not easy. It's not difficult to say, I don't believe in UFOs if you've never seen a UFO or if you've never seen a little green man, right? But I think it's an entirely different thing. And I put my trust in the NASA astronauts that have seen hundreds of thousands of planets and stars that are not visible to us down here. And so it's just, I think it just kind of gave me a different perspective, So
I have on my computer as my background, I have a picture taken from the Hubble Space Telescope. It's called the Deep Sky Image, right? They basically pointed the Hubble Space Telescope at a piece of space the size of a dime. If you go outside at night and you hold your finger out or you hold a dime up, they took a picture of that piece of space, and there are hundreds of thousands of galaxies, not planets and stars. I'm talking galaxies, each containing hundreds of thousands of stars and planets within them. Which to me, yes, I agree that there is likely, statistically speaking, there is life out there in the universe that is it may be a life as we know it, and it may be something that is completely different from anything that we have here on planet Earth. I'm not disputing that. And trust me, I, as someone who is fascinated by the stars, as somebody who is working right now on an astrophotography rig to be able to go take those pictures on my own because I'm so fascinated, as somebody who has plans to have a galaxy seen as a sleeve tattoo one day, right? I've been working on that for years. I'm fascinated by this stuff, and I agree. But there is a line between, is there life out there, and has that life visited us? Yes, there's probably life out there. I agree with that. But to say that that life has visited us or is in the process of visiting us, I need evidence for that claim. Evidence that life exists in the universe. We are it, right? We are evidence that the universe can produce life. So to say that there is life elsewhere is not an implausible claim. But to say that life has visited us, I need the empirical evidence, because we have nothing historically, data, evidence proving that it's happened before. If at some point it comes out that that's the case and it's proven to be, great, I will go, hey, I was wrong, here we are. It's not, there is a difference between I think that you're wrong and I don't believe you, right? There's a big line between this is wrong and I don't believe you. I'm saying I don't believe you, which doesn't mean you are wrong. It's just saying that I don't have enough reason, Diesel, to justify the belief in that thing. In this case, the claim that there have been extraterrestrials visiting this planet.
Well, we also have to consider the idea: what if we are the smartest ones out there? And that is a terrifying thought.
No,
we as human beings could be the smartest ones out there.
That, Diesel, that is too painful. It's too painful.
I mean, what again? Like I said, what if we are the smart ones? And that is scary. But also, you have to think: is there another species out there who's legitimately pointing that sort of pinhole camera across the cosmos and locking on to planets here and there? Are they doing the same thing? I mean, maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know. And then do they have the technology to get here? Do they have the desire to get here? And if they did, why would they come here about every 2 weeks, according to the weirdos on YouTube?
Yeah, and look, there's so many theories about that, right? Like, there's a part of me that thinks,
yeah,
if there is and they could get here, I want it to. But I also think of, for the most part, throughout human history, it seems like every time one group of people has been introduced to another group of people, one of those groups gets killed or enslaved or murdered or genocide committed against them. And if there is an alien out there that has the intent of, hey, resources, like every alien movie we've ever seen, that to me is kind of terrifying. So I don't know if I would want there to be contact. I know we're in the process of searching. There's an organization called SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, and basically they've got a huge machine that looks through all the visible spectrums of light, all the different detectable audio waves, basically every type of information transfer that we are aware of, and they just point it from planet to planet to planet to planet to planet around the known universe to see if we can detect any information, organized information coming, and we haven't found it. We're not looking, but the cosmos is a incomprehensibly huge place. And so, and Diesel, I think you brought it up a second ago, not only would they have to want to be here, they would have to find not a needle in a haystack. They would have to find a needle somewhere on the continent of North America without having any idea where to start looking. There's just so many things that make it hard to believe without evidence that they would A, find us, and B, make contact. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying the odds are so stacked. I need better information. I need better data.
And to jump on to I guess that's Stax's comment there. What if we're so far behind that they're not even interested in coming here? That's true. What if they look through the pinhole and they're like, look at those dummies. We're not going down there. They can't stop fighting each other. They can't stop, killing each other. We're not even going down there. So, yeah, that's entirely possible also. What if another extraterrestrial species identified us and then said, nah.
Yeah, it's go ahead, Mark.
I'll tell you, Rob. I'll tell you, like, you want to see evidence, and I think there's evidence that is possessed. That there's a lot of effort being undertaken to prevent people like you from having the evidence, right? And why would they be hiding the evidence? Why would they prevent that from getting out? Do you see how we behave with toilet paper and gas? Think about what it would be like if there was news about aliens that was out there. Okay, I mean we're filling plastic bags with gas, for crying out loud. Okay.
Yeah, and yes, Sthathagus said, what if they're just not interested in coming here? I mean, that might be a realistic possibility. When I go outside and I see an ant scurry across the sidewalk, I'm not so intrigued that I'm like, oh, let me see where that ant goes and what that ant eats and where it lives and try to communicate with the ant. It's just an insignificant, small little creature to me. And I go, all right, that's cool. And I move on with my life because I have more important things. If there is some sort of intelligent life that has transcended us, which I think we're labeled as a type 3 civilization. Type 2 civilization is considered one that has accomplished interplanetary travel and habitation, I guess. And type 1 is one that has harnessed the way to basically have infinite power sources. They would have to be a type 2 or type 1 civilization, which means that we would really look really primitive to them, right? The way that if Diesel and Mark, if we ran across a caveman, a Neanderthal man, we might be intrigued by it, but and we might study it a little bit, but we wouldn't interfere, right? We wouldn't throw ourselves out there and be like, hello, we're Homo sapiens, let's get in it. We would let it be to look and study. And that may be very well what's happening. And Mark, you might be right. There may be government entities that are suppressing that information so that Rob Brown and Mark Ryan and Diesel can't get that information, so that we can't see that information and determine that these things are real. But I still have that basis of how I elect to believe things. And I can't just go, well, obviously they're hiding from it, and obviously aliens are real. I still don't, even if the information is suppressed from me, Diesel, I still don't have the information, which is why I find my viewpoint valid here.
Well, yeah, and Lonzo talked a lot about belief and faith, and maybe that's a fool's belief, maybe it's a fool's faith in wanting something to be real that maybe just isn't actually real. Maybe it is, and I by God think it is very likely real. As you said, also, just because it's out there doesn't mean that it's here. Doesn't mean that it's come here. Doesn't mean that it's contacted us. I don't know. I hope that it's real. But if they have come here, why do they keep sticking things up our butts? It doesn't seem like a very logical thing to do for an advanced civilization. Why don't they just, put their little tractor beam right here on our foreheads and read our thoughts that way? Why do they got to go through the butts? I don't think it's a logical thing. So when you get some, Farmer Freb who says that I was abducted while I was out, cornholing the livestock, and they decided to stick something up my hoo-hoo, I don't believe it. I don't believe those people, because we all know that the psyche is a powerful drug, and that methamphetamine is a powerful drug. And, I need more than that. But actually, I have to take off, fellas. It's been a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do this again.
All right, big dog. Thanks for stopping by, Diesel. Zoe, we lost you for a second, man, but we got you back. Any parting shots before we split out of here, since the Offsides crew is too cool for us?
Well, I just want to say that I'm all about cool exits, and you know, my computer apparently is all about them too. So it took me this long to get back, and now we're done. But
Oh,
that's okay.
listen. I got nothing to do. All right, I'll sit here and talk UFOs all night long. I'm fine with it. So here I'll give you what Mark said while you were gone and let you respond to it. Mark said that there was that there were, in his belief, there are likely government entities that there is the evidence that I, as Rob Brown, say and feel I require in order to believe in things, right? Like I need evidence, I need proof. I don't take anything on faith alone. And he believes the evidence is there. We are starting to see it in little drips, but that it is actively being suppressed. And my response was, well, even if the reason I don't have the evidence is malevolent, even if it is actively being suppressed, and that's why I don't have it, I still don't have it. Regardless of the reason why I don't have the information, I don't have the information that I feel I require in order to make a belief. So Mark feels that they are sitting on information that would give Rob Brown what he needs to believe that these are definitely extraterrestrial.
Well, first of all, Mark Ryan saying that he's just shocked that he and I agree on something. We agree on more than we disagree. And when it comes to this, that's exactly what I said in the beginning, that they're starting to leak these things on purpose to get people. And let me take you back, I don't know, back into the 70s, maybe 60s, when crop circles started appearing. And yes, they've been debunked, supposedly. Anyone who talked about crop circles, they should be listening to Coast on 106.3 WORD every night, by the way.
Wait, do we air that show? I got to tell you, that is the most entertaining thing in the world for me. I listen to that show and I crack up.
Before you listen to, and I don't care about plugging. Hey, I'm on that station. And it's in our building. It's in our family. Before you listen to Coast, there's a guy named Clyde Lewis that comes on before that from 10 to 12. Same sort of stuff. So Clyde Lewis into Coast. If you're into all this, it's excellent. It really is. But what I was saying with the crop circles, people thought those guys were kooks. They're crazy. They wrote them off as yahoos and as diesels and well, it was you saying carbon monoxide. Now, doesn't it seem to be there's a certain amount of acceptability because of leaked footage from the military? So now things are starting to be a little more acceptable. That's what I was talking about. You slowly let things out, slowly let people starting to see more and more of this to the point where it becomes more acceptable. And then before you know it, they're on the White House lawn shaking hands with the president.
So Sathakis says, Lonzo, what about God being an alien? I'm a religious person and I don't find it blasphemous. So there is a theory. Well, a theory. I don't know if I would call it a theory, but there's a thought experiment out there that takes the premise of God and says that there may be a possibility that the entity described by human beings as God, as the creator, and I am not a religious person. But the entity described as God may be an entity that is an entity that is so evolved that they have reached a plane of existence where they can create, where they can create life, they can create different things in a way that our brains can't comprehend, and that may be the source of life. I don't subscribe to that, but I've seen that theory tossed around in websites and whatnot, which would lead to then the belief that there must be stages of evolution between where we are as a type 3, as a type 3 civilization, and an entity that maybe not God as described in the Abrahamic religions, but an entity that is. So there would be steps of evolution, which would explain why there are entities out there that would have the tech capable of reaching Earth and interacting with us.
Well, here's the thing, and this is directly addressing Michael, by the way. If you believe in God and you believe God is omnipresent, if God is omnipresent, then God is everywhere. If God is everywhere, then God is not an alien, because everywhere he is where he belongs. So you can't go somewhere where you've never been if you've always been there and you're always everywhere. That's just my opinion on that.
The premise of omnipotence, omnipresence. In this case, the belief of an omnipresent, omnipotent being does not stand for you, basically.
No, what I'm saying is that's not what I'm saying.
Not that those characteristics, but for God to be an alien, he would not be capable of possessing those characteristics.
Right. If God was an alien, he wouldn't be God. It's all about a matter of word definitions. Again, if you're omnipresent, you're everywhere, and if you're everywhere, then there's nowhere where you would be foreign. So to be foreign would be to be alien to that place. And so if you're omnipresent, you can never be alien.
Fair. All right. So basically, I think the spot
no
that
one
we hit
said that there would be theology and philosophy and stuff.
Oh, that's a rabbit hole. We would be much better served on a much different platform. And would be some interesting discussion, I have no doubt. But so to wrap up, we've got four different levels of belief here. Lonzo said on the show the other day, 85% chance that these phenomenon that we are talking about are extraterrestrial in origin. Mark Ryan saying that he believes that there is a very good chance that that's what this is, and that the perspective of NASA astronauts have kind of pushed him in that direction.
By the way, just really quick, he's hung out with astronauts. We can't say that we've done that. At least I don't think you have. I mean, you could.
I've taken a tour from one of Cape Canaveral down in Florida. I don't know if that counts as hanging out with one, but I took a tour of the space station one time. So like I said, I am fascinated by the concept of outer space. Every time that one of these companies like Virgin Airlines and SpaceX, they put up one of those competitions where they're like, we're going to pick, 2 American civilians to send into space. I enter in every one of those, and I would quit every job and leave every connect. If they decide that they want to send people to Mars to start a colony there, I would volunteer to go in a heartbeat. It's fascinating to me.
And I would volunteer somebody else that was on the field. But, that's just me.
It's a fascinating concept and a fascinating thought to me. And I absolutely believe there's life out there. But I think I'm on the far other extreme, which is I acknowledge the possibility, but I do not accept that is the most likely outcome, because there are, I can come up with, off the top of my head, far more, many natural, I think, and I use this word not as a slight, but reasonable examples in past situations where it has just been proven to be a man-made device that wasn't introduced to the public yet, and I lean in that direction. But the beautiful thing about this topic, Lonzo, the beautiful thing about this is that until we definitely know, we won't know, and everybody gets to hang on to their opinions, and we keep having conversations like this.
All right, before you close this out, we've got to address Kay Sully mentioning the crystal skull. Don't do that, man. Don't do that.
They ruined it.
That was so bad. That was Spielberg, who may or may not have been abducted, because he has done quite a few things about aliens. So
you want to know how you know a movie is bad? If me and Lonzo both agree that the movie is bad, the movie was bad. All right.
But they're making another one, so
Yeah, but aren't they going? Haven't they said that they're going back to the more classical style of Indiana Jones? Like it's going to be a more throwback style movie?
Here's the thing. Harrison Ford wants all his characters to die, so that's what he already got. Han Solo killed off.
Yep.
He's just going back so he can die. That's it.
That's so fine if he dies heroically fighting whatever the new age version of Nazis is, then that's a fine send off for me. Han dying in the movies wasn't the reason that the last 3 movies were bad. I was fine with it if it's involved in a good story. If he wants to kill off Indy, that's fine if he wants to kill off Indy, but do it in a good story, not another heaping pile of hot trash like Crystal Skull.
By the way, Stathakis, not only is it top 5, that was the best Indiana Jones.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. All right. That being said, for those of you that have just joined, we've been talking for like an hour. Where have you been? What have you been doing? We told you we were doing this. All right. That being said, you can go to facebook.com/ESPN Upstate. Go back and watch this thing from the beginning. We had Diesel, we had Mark Ryan, we had me, we had Zoe. And we're gonna do this more often, man. We're gonna do this more often. ESPN Upstate off topic is something that we are going to make into, I hope, a maybe every other week kind of thing where we get into all things not sports so that we can hashtag stick to sports on the show. Zoe, any parting shots before we get on the air tomorrow afternoon?
Yes. If you enjoy the topics that have been talked about here and other things, you enjoy the room that I'm in right now, please tune in to 106.3 WORD, 7 to 9 p.m. every Saturday night where we talk about all this stuff and more.
You should say the name of the show, Upstate Pulse.
Well, I was waiting for you to do that. See?
It's the Upstate Pulse. Yeah, make sure you like them, follow them on Facebook too, so you get that notification when they go live. It's a fantastic show. And not saying, just saying, pretty solid chance they're going to have a special guest join in coming up on Saturday afternoon. I'm just saying there's no way we can have this discussion and I'm not going to jump in on Saturday. It's just not going to happen.
It's definitely happening with a different audience. So
yeah. Question is, are you going to?
You may or may not fit.
Are you going to beat me up more on your show than I'm getting beat up on this one?
No, because I don't do that. We believe in civil discourse.
I love it.
I will probably refer to you as Egon Spock, but that's not really that bad, now is it?
All right. And by the way, Michael, I think we've already traded names, but if not, email me your Activision name to robbrown@espnupstate.com because they just added Nakatomi Plaza into Warzone, and your boy is about to go get his John McClane on for the next couple of hours. So send me your Activision number. We will do this more often. So great job, brother. I will see you tomorrow from noon to 3 on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Bye-bye.
Later, guys. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time.